How can someone earning $80,000 a year still feel broke every single month? It doesn't make sense at first glance, right? You'd think with that kind of paycheck, life would be comfortable, maybe even secure. But here's the truth most people don't want to face. It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep and what you do with it. We've all been told that income is the golden ticket. Get a good job, climb the ladder, cross that magic threshold, and money stress will vanish. But reality tells a different story. Across America, families with good salaries are lying awake at night, juggling bills, arguing with their partners, and wondering why the math never works out. I want to tell you about one of those families. They aren't reckless, they aren't lazy. They did what everyone said you're supposed to do, but they're living paycheck to paycheck, and the stress is eating them alive. And here's the kicker: they're not alone. They're just the face of a silent epidemic, the illusion of prosperity. So let me introduce you to Emily and Mark. On paper, they're the American dream. In reality, they're trapped. Emily and Mark are in their late 30s, a two-income household. Together, they bring in about $80,000 a year. That's more than the median U.S. household income. They should feel secure, but they don't. They bought a modest house in the suburbs. The mortgage eats a third of their paycheck. Add in insurance, taxes, utilities. Suddenly, modest doesn't feel so modest. They drive two decent cars, nothing exotic, just reliable sedans. But both are financed. Between payments, gas, and insurance, the cars feel like a second mortgage. Then there's the credit card debt, $15,000, lingering like a shadow. Every month, they make the minimum payments. Every month, the balance barely budges. Interest piles up faster than progress. Weekends bring small relief. Dinner out with friends, new gadgets, a trip or two each year, because after all, don't they deserve it? Everyone else is doing it, and that's part of the trap. Keeping up appearances, keeping up with neighbors, keeping up with expectations. From the outside, Emily and Mark look fine. 2 kids, a nice home, vacations on Instagram. But inside that home, money arguments echo, resentment builds, stress lingers. Emily lies awake calculating numbers in her head. Mark feels like he's running faster and faster on a treadmill that never stops. Here's the irony. They earn more than most Americans ever dreamed, and yet they feel poor. And the question that keeps haunting them is the same one that should haunt us all. How is it possible to do everything right and still end up broke? That's the puzzle we need to break open. You know, one of the greatest lies we've been sold is this: if you earn a high income, you'll be financially secure. It sounds so logical, so comforting. But sit with it long enough, live long enough, and you realize it's a myth that destroys more lives than it saves. I've seen lawyers earning $200,000 a year, sweating at night because their bills outpace their paychecks. I've seen surgeons pulling 6 figures but chained to mortgages, car leases, and credit card balances so large they'd rather not check the statements. High income, low peace of mind. That's the secret nobody advertises. Why? Because lifestyle inflation is a hungry beast. The moment you get that raise, that promotion, that fat bonus, suddenly, your old life doesn't feel good enough anymore. The car that once carried you just fine suddenly looks outdated. The house that sheltered you feels cramped. Vacations must now be experiences, not just trips. And so, every extra dollar you thought would save you, it vanishes before you can even blink. Then there's the invisible chains, credit cards, loans, debt dressed up in shiny packaging. The system practically begs you to borrow, to live ahead of your means. And people do, believing they're buying freedom, when in fact they're buying servitude. Every swipe of the card feels harmless until the statement comes, and then you're just another worker chained to interest payments, paying for yesterday with tomorrow's sweat. And let's not forget the culture we live in. America is a temple to consumerism. You're not just invited to spend, you're pressured to. Ads don't just sell products anymore, they sell identity. Buy this and you're successful. Drive that and you're respected. Wear this and people will know you've arrived. No one ever claps for the quiet man who invests his money wisely, who drives a car 10 years old, who chooses savings over spectacle. No, applause is reserved for the spender, not the saver. Now, I want to take you a step deeper. Let's talk about your brain, because money isn't just math, it's biology. Neuroscience tells us that every time you spend, every time you buy something shiny and new, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical hit gamblers get when pulling a slot machine. That's why shopping feels so damn good in the moment. But here's the trick. It's fleeting. The dopamine fades, the bills remain. And in chasing those tiny bursts of happiness, we build mountains of long-term stress. Chronic financial stress, by the way, doesn't just hurt your wallet, it damages your decision-making. When you're constantly worried about bills, about debt, about keeping up, your brain narrows its focus to survival. You stop thinking long-term, you stop planning, you just react. And so the cycle repeats. Stress leads to poor choices lead to more stress. It's not weakness, it's neuroscience, but it keeps people stuck for decades. So let me leave you with a simple, uncomfortable truth. Wealth is not what you show the world. It's not the car in the driveway, the ring on your finger, or the logo on your jacket. Real wealth is invisible. It's the money you quietly keep, the freedom you quietly own, the nights you sleep without worry because tomorrow cannot bankrupt you. And this, right here, is where most people get it wrong. They chase the illusion, not the substance. They live for applause instead of freedom. But here's the good news. Once you see the trap, you can choose differently. You can rewrite the story. And that brings us to the next part, where we stop analyzing the problem and begin reframing the mindset. Because if the old equation, work hard to retire happy, was a lie, then what's the new equation? Let's talk about it. So, if high income doesn't guarantee freedom, then what does? Let me give you a definition that has carried me across decades, across boardrooms, across oceans. True wealth is freedom plus control. Freedom, the ability to wake up and choose how you spend your hours. Control, the ability to look at your life and say, I own this, it doesn't own me. Put those two together, and you have something money alone can't buy. The trouble is, most people mistake wealth for lifestyle. They think the flashy car, the designer watch, the oversized house. Those are signs of having made it. But let me tell you, I've sat across from CEOs who looked rich and lived poor, because every dollar they earned was already promised to someone else. Their lifestyle wasn't freedom, it was a cage made of leather seats and marble countertops. The shift, then, is this. You don't work to impress the world, you work to buy back your time. That's the currency that matters. Your hours, your days, your years. Every paycheck is not just money, it's a vote. Do you trade it for more stuff, or do you trade it for more freedom? See, you don't escape the trap by earning more. I've seen people double their income and double their misery. You escape it by mastering enough, by knowing when the car you drive is good enough, when the home you live in is enough, when the clothes on your back already serve their purpose. Master enough, and suddenly money loses its power over you. Fail to master it, and no amount will ever feel sufficient. And here's the line that should echo in your bones. Money is a tool. If you don't hold it with discipline, it will hold you with chains. That's the paradox. People think money equals freedom, but money without wisdom equals slavery. Slavery to banks, to consumer culture, to envy of your neighbors. Discipline, restraint, clarity. These are the invisible keys that unlock real wealth. So, what does this reframe look like in practice? It looks like measuring success not by what the world sees, but by how much of your life you own. It looks like valuing peace of mind over public applause. It looks like refusing to let advertisers, peers, or Instagram strangers dictate what success should mean to you. When you sit quietly with yourself, no noise, no pressure, what kind of life feels free to you? That answer is your wealth. Everything else is a distraction. And if this sounds too poetic, too philosophical, don't worry. We're not stopping here. Because philosophy without practice is just air. So let's take this mindset and bring it down to earth. Let's talk about the next part. Actionable steps. The simple, concrete moves anyone can make to step off the treadmill and start building wealth that actually lasts. All right, enough philosophy for a moment. Let's roll up our sleeves. Because mindset without action is just wishful thinking, and money, well, money rewards clarity and punishes drift. There are 4 practical shifts that can change the trajectory of almost anyone's financial life. They're not flashy. You won't see TikTok influencers bragging about them. But if you stick to them, you'll quietly build something most people only dream about: control. Step 1. Track your spending. Awareness is always the first move. Most Americans know what they earn, but they have no idea where it leaks away. Sit down, look at your last 3 months of bank and card statements, add it up, face the truth. Sometimes just seeing the numbers, like realizing you spent $600 on takeout or $400 on little Amazon orders, is enough to snap you awake. Money doesn't disappear. We spend it, know where it goes, and you've already taken back the steering wheel. Step 2. Prioritize debt elimination. Debt is the silent tax on your future. Interest doesn't sleep, doesn't pause, doesn't forgive. The quickest way to free yourself is the snowball method. Line up your debts smallest to largest, and attack the smallest with everything you've got while making minimums on the rest. Knock out one, then roll that momentum into the next. It's not just math, it's psychology. Each win builds confidence, and before long, the chains begin to break. Step 3. Automate savings. Here's the truth. If you wait until the end of the month to save, there will never be anything left. Lifestyle expands to fill income. So flip the script. Pay yourself first. Automate a chunk into savings or investments the moment your paycheck lands, even if it's just 10%. Over time, the habit matters more than the number. It forces you to live on what remains, and it builds wealth in the background while you get on with life. Step 4. Define what enough means to you. This is the step nobody talks about because it's deeply personal. If you don't define enough, culture will do it for you, and culture's definition will always demand more, more, more. Sit down with a notebook. Write out, What level of home, car, lifestyle truly satisfies me? When do I feel rich in time, not just money? Clarity here is the antidote to the endless chase. Now, let me ground this in a real story. I once met a woman, let's call her Sarah, earning $60,000 a year, not a superstar salary. But she made a choice. She drove the same car for 10 years, resisted the itch to upgrade every time she got a raise, and automated 15% of her income straight into index funds. She tracked every dollar, attacked her credit cards until they were gone, and said no when friends pressured her into expensive vacations. 10 years later, she wasn't living paycheck to paycheck. She had 6 figures saved, no debt, and, most importantly, peace of mind. Meanwhile, many of her peers earning double her salary still lived under constant financial stress. Why? Because discipline beats income when it comes to building wealth. That's the heart of it. Freedom isn't about how much you make. It's about how much you keep, how wisely you use it, and whether you define your life by your values or by someone else's expectations. And this brings us to the last step of our journey today. Because beyond the tactics, beyond the numbers, there's a deeper reflection waiting. Let's close with the bigger truth, the one that ties it all together. So here we are, back at the question we started with. How can someone earning $80,000 still feel broke every month? It's not that Americans don't earn enough. Most don't stay broke because of income. They stay broke because they were never taught how to live free from the trap. They were taught how to chase, how to consume, how to look successful. But almost no one sat them down and said, "Wealth is not the show. Wealth is the freedom behind the curtain." That's why people like Emily and Mark, the couple we spoke about earlier, look around at their nice house, their cars, their vacations, and still feel poor, because their lives belong to the bank. And until you reclaim ownership, no number on your paycheck can buy you peace. Let me leave you with this thought. Wealth isn't louder cars or bigger houses. It isn't about outshining your neighbor or stacking toys in the driveway. Real wealth is quiet. It's the quiet power of choice, the ability to say no when everyone else is saying yes. It's the ability to sleep at night, unchained from debt, unafraid of tomorrow. That's wealth. Now, I want to hear from you. What's one financial trap you fell into that no one warned you about? Was it credit cards, student loans, lifestyle creep? Share it below. Your story might be the mirror someone else needs to finally wake up. And if this conversation stirred something in you, if you felt yourself nodding, or maybe uncomfortably recognizing your own life in these stories, then don't walk away empty-handed. Subscribe to The Bridge Within. This is where we tell the truths schools never taught you, where money is not just about numbers, but about freedom, control, and meaning. Every video here is a crossing, a bridge from struggle to growth, from illusion to clarity, from the life you were told to live to the one you can actually claim. If you're ready to uncover those hidden connections between mind, heart, and the world around you, then hit subscribe and start crossing the bridge within today. Because the truth is, freedom doesn't wait until 65. Freedom begins the moment you stop believing the lie.